to some extent, I suppose a criticism of somebody who is middle of the road is that they aren't staking out a position. They don't have the courage of their conviction. They're not standing for something. The flip side of that is you're trying to compromise. You're looking to work across the aisle. You're trying to call balls and strikes not based on party affiliation, but based on what you see as the truth. Help us, as you wrote this book, what emerged for you in terms of the theme or the through line for the career of Secretary Reed, Sam Reed?
He made a really good point about the tradition of populism in Washington State, because of the so-called blanket primary, which he and Rob McKenna defended so eloquently all the way to the United States Supreme Court, and also the Open Public Records Act, a corollary to that, another victory. Well, the Grange and leftist forces, the Washington Commonwealth Federation of the 1930s, resisted the notion of filing for office, being forced to declare a party affiliation. What really emerged here in this story about Sam, and by the way, his grandfather Sam Sumner was a remarkable character. Earlier, I had done a book about the Woodses in the Wenatchee world, so where Sam and brother Roger and sister Janet grew up at least until for Roger and Sam, their high school years. And Wenatchee's a close-knit, very, very political town, and the story of his grandfather arriving there and the wide swath that grandfather very much opposed radical right-wing politics in the Republican Party. So Sam, as a legacy pledge, had this inclination to stake out civility, the pill of obligations, and to try to bring people together. I've been really amused lately in this election that after Governor Evans's death, then everyone is repeating his mantra, I would rather cross the political aisle than cross the people. They weren't making many of those noises before we lost our three-term governor and U.S. Senator. There is, by the way, so he came by this by dint of lineage and temperament. His father also emerges in this story as being, I mean, it's almost too good to be true. As journalists, we always learned that the best way to ruin a real good story is to check it out. Well, his dad was a remarkably civil person. Sam had this wonderful line about his people used to say that the two things you don't want to discuss in polite company are politics and religion. Well, that's all his dad wanted to talk about, and somehow managed not to be offensive in doing it. So, by the way, there's a fascinating thing in one journalist to another, and now as a historian, that I tried mightily. The mandate from Sam Reed in the beginning and his wonderful deputy, Steve Excel, future state archivist, is we don't want any hagiographies in this program. Your job is that we recruited you as a historian and journalist to tell the truth, warts and all. It was very, very difficult to get people to go on the record to say bad things about Sam Sumner Reed. I had one that I thought was going to give me some added perspective, who is still really, really PO'd about the Gregoire Rossi race. And when I said, well, that's a good counterpoint to this,
yeah.
And then can't use it, it's off the record. So, but there weren't many of those. I think he came by this by dint of the way he was raised. And I love the story in the beginning about young Sam Reed in Portland. He's got his little red wagon stuffed with flyers for Harold Stassen, the wonder boy of Republican progressive politics, and there you go. You don't get better antecedents than that.
In the Oregon primary.
In the Oregon primary.
Right. Well, Austin, I want to take issue with your question and the premise of the
Yeah,
question.
absolutely. Have at it.
You will find, and I think it's in the book, it wasn't like I never took a position and just was looking to compromise. Throughout my career, I have championed many causes. Many of them have been controversial, but I've been willing to fight for what I believed in and cared about. And so I have very strong convictions and really worked them hard. Now, I was not a political extremist, so it wasn't anything polemical. But when you talk about the political middle, you're talking about a pretty big area to operate in. And but I certainly never shied away from taking strong stands on issues.
You can check out the rest of the show by clicking on the link below or by watching Inside Olympia Thursday evenings at 7 and 10.